Hello everybody. So this is literally this is my 5th time recording this. The reason why, because I had this massive stuttering problem. If you've seen my last videos, you probably would have noticed it. And that got exponentially worse to the point where I couldn't even play. So all my lap times were basically scrapped because I had to reinstall Windows, had to format everything. It was such a pain, but we're back. The stutters are a lot better. Still not completely gone though, so I do apologise if there is any stutters when we go through this track guide, but it is better. So that's the main thing. Okay, so what's this week? This week is Spa, as we all know. I'm a little bit late, I'm very sorry. So this lap was 155.748 done with the qualifying setup. So we're at that line, competitiveness. There's a few mistakes this lap, lost about a 10th in the bus stop chicane as per usual. Yeah, the bus stop is very hard. So the fastest car is by far the Ferrari, by quite a margin. So a 155 in a race is going to get you somewhere. You're going to be looking at a pole position. So if we can get this lap, we're looking at on average pole and a very high soft, or when we're against like aliens, then we're looking at like P2, P3. Probably P2 I'd say, because every time I look at one of these, it's only one person that reaches the 155s. I haven't seen anyone in the 155s who are accurate yet, so yeah, take it as what you will. It wasn't a perfect lap. So this was done in a practice session, so same conditions you'll be qualifying in. So let's take a look at the lap. Okay, so we go into cockpit view. What lap was this? Lap 2. Okay. So come across the line. From the bus stop chicane, we want to have a good exit. So we take a wide line into the bus stop and then get the best exit possible. We come across the line, go down the straight, boom. Then we look for this red marker right here. Brake hard at it, shift down into first. And then dive in, use this AstroTurf here, get as close to the wall as possible whilst maintaining that 1%. And if you saw my last video, we're interchanging, we're slowing down the rate of release dynamically within the corner. Track out, but do not hit this curb, because the reason why is because the curb is really rough, and because we're in a low gear here, we'll hit into traction control, and this is a very important corner because we have basically a straight after. I mean, let's just discount Iracing Radion. So yeah, don't hit that curb. Then we come over slowly. We sort of hug this inside. The line here doesn't really matter too much, but I will go through it anyway. So we come in, we dive. Don't hit this this dirt patch, otherwise we'll get an off track. We come back over and we're going to look for this marker right here, and that tells us when we need to straighten out. And this is how much track limit we want to use. If I took any more than this, I think I would have gotten off track and a slowdown like that. So yeah, if you're cutting this, do it for qualifying. In a race, not as important, unless someone's really close behind you. But let's go into chopper, let's see. So it seems to be as long as 2 wheels are on this curb, you'll be fine. So we could maybe use more than it, but yeah, just stick to this, I'd say the maximum. Then we have light hands through here, just run it all the way wide, get as good exit as possible, and then here comes an interesting bit. So we don't want to stay all the way over to the left when we're entering, because we can get on this curb. If we stay all the way over to the left, that means we have to run our tyres at one point on this curb here. Or if we were to suddenly jolt the wheel to the left as we cross over, then you'd have less braking performance, because then we're using more lateral grip for steering rather than the brake, and we want to maximise as much longitudinal grip as possible. You can't have 100% longitudinal and 100% lateral. If you're using 100% of your tyre grip, it'll be like 50% lateral, 50% longitudinal, 30%, 70%, etc. So we don't stay all the way over to the left. We stay a tiny bit over to the right, cross over, and brake at the curb here. We shift down into third, and we hook our inside wheels on the inside of this curb here. The off track is if you get onto the gravel too much. It's a bit of a shitty one, but we just don't want to graze it too much. Like if you hear the gravel, you'll be able to hear it. If it's like a little dink of gravel, that's fine, but if it's like a graze of it, then you're off track. Boom, and then we get over to the left hand side here, and we hook our inside wheels out. Yeah, inside wheels on the inside of this curb. Boom, pulls us over nicely, but I did get oversteer here. This is I think there's about 2 temps left still in this lap, 2-3 temps. So yeah, a bit of a mistake there. We don't want to get that oversteer. the easiest way not to get this oversteer is by going more over to the left. It's sort of counterintuitive. If we go more over to the left, that means our wheels are going to get less hooked in at the expense of a little bit more understeer, but it's better than having this because that's detrimental to our exit. For Malmedy, we get as far over to the left as possible. I think we could use this curb, and I'm going to experiment with that and report back if I find anything. And it's just like a tiny little lift. You can see here, I'm going to just take a little lift and just get the car rotated. Boom, back on the power already before the apex. And we get over onto this right hand side gravel patch. No, not gravel patch, right hand side Astro. And then the track limits here, we can graze this, but we don't want to get all the way over. As long as we have 2 wheels just on this white line, we're fine. Same again as in where Lecombe was. So we don't stay all the way far over to the left. We go in the middle and then dive in and use this entry curb. Brake at it, shift down into first or second. First gives you a little bit more point, but at the expense of maybe overslowing the car too early. And second gives you a nice mid-corner speed, but then you have less points, so it's easy to understeer. So yeah, so I chose to shift down into first, sort of midway through the corner, because when I do that, I'm sort of countering that overslow, and when I feel like I've got that understeer building up, I also slow down the rate of release, as in my last video, and I shift down into first to sort of get in the opposite direction, because I hate understeer personally. Some people like it. Then we get back on the power. Okay, here's one that I want you to experiment with. Try using this curb and try not using it. In my opinion, I use it. It seems a lot faster. We can get all the way on it, and then we can just dive in. We barely even have to brake for this. When you're at the end of a stint with low fuel and it's got good track conditions, you don't even have to brake. I would recommend braking though anyway, because if you just do like the teeniest 1%, it just gives you that tiny bit more poke on the front end, which allows you to get back on the throttle earlier. And we hit this curb. We don't want to hit this sausage curb too hard, otherwise it's going to bounce us out. And I could have used my exit here again, so more lost time. We can graze this gravel. Okay, we fast forward into Puhan. Right, so I don't really have a real braking marker for you, but it's very late. It's almost when it's in the early entry phase. Boom, right there. So as soon as I initiate the turn in, that's when I'm starting to brake. And the thing that I want you to focus through here is as little steering angle as possible, more trail braking. So we shift down into fifth, and it's just that 1% trail brake, just for a little bit, and then we get back on the throttle. Okay, so now we're into pith path. So we brake at the curb, and we shift down into third, but rather slowly. Don't rush the downshifts here, because we can take a lot, because obviously the tire model is just really broken at the minute. Like, it's just stupidly fast. So we roll so much speed into this corner, more than you think, and I want you to prioritize again not to use too much steering angle here. Rotate the car on the brakes, not the steering. And I don't use this inside curb personally. It just ain't for me. I feel like it sort of bounces the car a bit too much, but I would implore you to try it at least, and just, if you drive like a different car, for example, which is better over curbs, maybe it works. But in the Acura, at least for me, I don't think it does. So we get back on the power midway through. We don't want to over compromise this previous right-hander, so we can set up this next left nicely. But we also don't want to under compromise it, where we're all the way over to the left and we'll get spat out this corner. I sort of over compromised it just a little bit here. I think if we're more over to the left when we get spat out, I'm talking about when the car naturally runs itself out on the track in a certain position, not you artificially extending it, which I covered a few videos ago. So in third, we have a nice little lift, and here's why I use this inside curb. It does pull you in. And we can get over onto this curb, but fun fact, it does slow you down ever so slightly. I'm not too sure why. I think it's because it's really bumpy, so traction control hits in, but every time I've ran over it, my delta bar goes red. So take that for what you will. Do experiment though, of course, as per usual. We can graze the gravel, but we don't want to get into the gravel. As long as 2 wheels are on this white line, we're fine. Okay, originally I took this corner in second, but it's definitely a third gear corner. Okay, so we brake at the curb. Initiate that turning on the brakes. You can carry more speed than you think you can throughout this corner, and then get back on the throttle early. Here, when we're hot lapping, we don't want to use the exit curb too much, but it's all flat out. Yeah, so the reason why we don't want to use this curb is because it does slow you down ever so slightly because it's rough. Then we just sort of keep it tight, you know, cut as much as possible. Longer stints though obviously do use these exits, like really widen out the track, so you don't put too much load through the tyres, so then you save them. Okay, Blanchamont was flat, in case you were wondering. So here, interesting little thing. So I broke way too early here because I was seeing the delta bar and I was like, oh my gosh, finally. Because yesterday I was struggling to break that 155. So I was just like, I'll be conservative here. And I really fucked up this bus stop chicane. So I will tell you the correct line. Okay, so ignore what I do here. So imagine I broke at the 100 sign right here. We don't brake when it hits the, when it exits our screen, the A pillar. We brake just before it, like there. Then we shift down into all the way into first. And the reason why I'm in the middle, by the way, is because I'm extending this braking zone just ever so slightly, so I can brake later. So we should be in first at this point, but I was in second, stupidly. So when we'll be in first, and we take this inside curb, we really smash into it. Oh, so cringy. Actually, do you know what I'll do? Lap 1. We'll go into like a previous lap. Oh my gosh. Okay. Meow. I wish I was this fast. Right, come on. Right, okay. Yeah, this is better. So we brake here. We take this inside curve. Then we take the inside again. And get back on the throttle, and do not use this exit curb. Reason why we don't want to use that exit curb, again, same reasons as last time, it's too rough. You'll knock into traction control. Important to note as well, in between the chicane, we do coast just for the tiniest bit, because there's no point braking for this. We're just going to overslow, because we're at such a low speed anyway. If we even touch the brake, that's going to slow us down significantly. So yeah, that's the full lap. Let me play it back without me talking. that's a full lap. So in case you were wondering, by the way, I've never really gone over this. I do run brake ballast on fixed at 47.25. That just seems to be the perfect sweet spot for me, where it's not too understeery, and you're also not, I don't know how to explain it, it's also not like frying the rear tyres. So 47.25 is what I use. You could try lower. It just depends how much pointiness you like on the brakes. I like a lot of pointiness, so yeah, I do run it lower than stock. But that's a full lap. Of course, this bus stop chicane wasn't great, so just keep that in mind. It's a first gear, hit this curve, don't get all the way spat out here, we want to be in the middle, and then take this in first. Right, so that's a full lap. Very sorry for that this was late, but yeah, it was out of my control pretty much, so yeah, annoying, but we roll. Thank you for watching.